General Milley has engaged in a double treason, two forms of treason against the United States. First, by usurping the legitimate power of the elected president of the United States, by creating a procedure by which Trump was in effect sidelined from direct control over nuclear weapons. Milley basically said anything to do with nuclear weapons has got to go through me. And he sat down the other generals and made them take an oath to swear that they would only go through him. Wow. This is a flagrant violation of our system, civilian control of the military. Essentially, the United States was, whether we are willing to fully admit it or not, at least for a brief time, under a military dictatorship. Now, the second form of treason is Milley calling up, apparently more than once, General Li, the top general in China, and colluding with him, saying basically, listen, if Trump orders an attack, I'm going to call you and tell you beforehand. I'm going to warn you in advance. I'm going to give you the heads up. I'm going to give you the tip off. Wow. This is the United States literally colluding with a foreign adversary against its own elected leader. And once again, the question becomes, who gave Milley the authority to do that? I'll talk about this in the next segment. I'm going to focus on the Chinese side of it in the segment to follow. But here I want to just focus on the first part of this, which is Milley's decision that Trump had somehow gone rogue. Trump could not be trusted, and therefore he needs to arrogate to himself the responsibility over, you may say, the nuclear football. He makes himself, in a sense, the de facto president of the United States. Now, Milley has issued a statement in the kind of bureaucratic language that camouflages what it is that he was doing. This is the Defense Department's official statement. It says, in effect, General Milley frequently conducts meetings with uniformed leaders across the services to ensure all leaders are aware of current issues. Now, I mean, just think about the preposterousness of the statement. Milley was not calling the other generals to say, hey guys, you know what, let me give you a briefing on current issues. No, this wasn't about a briefing. This was soliciting from them an allegiance not to the president, but to him, to Milley. The statement goes on. The meeting regarding nuclear weapons was to remind uniformed leaders of the Pentagon of long-established and robust procedures in light of media reporting on the subject. So now they're acting like this meeting was really a response to what the media was putting out false information, and Milley needed to sort of go over long-established procedures. Well, is it a long-established procedure that if the president gives the order it is to be disregarded, it is to be ignored, nothing should be done or acted upon until it goes through Milley? Where is that in the established procedures? It doesn't exist. So what you have here is that, and this is really the excuse of all despots throughout the ages. Basically, they always go, it's for the greater good of the country. You know, in other words, I had to seize power. Things were getting really out of control. It had to be me. I mean, think, for example, about a tin pot dictator like Pinochet in Chile. Pinochet basically mounted a coup. Of course, he stayed in power for many, many years. But I'm sure if you confronted Pinochet and said, why'd you do it? He'd be like, oh, things were really out of control. You know, the democratically elected leader had no control of events. Things were getting out of hand. Someone had to step in. It had to be me. So once again, this is the pretext that is ever used by despots. Now, in this case, what's interesting is that Milley tried to get some legitimacy for what he's doing by calling Nancy Pelosi. And they have this conversation. Of course, Milley knows that Pelosi hates Trump. Pelosi has this kind of, you know, you saw what happened when Pelosi tore up Trump's State of the Union address. And so sure enough, Milley calls Pelosi. Pelosi goes, he's crazy. He's been crazy for a long time. Again, now, while Pelosi can say, well, I'm just giving my opinion, what she's really saying is she is licensing Milley to ignore the democratic process. To say, basically, listen, he's the leader, he's the elected leader, but you don't have to treat him that way because we all know he's nuts. And the point here that I want to get at is who gets to decide if the president is out of control? Who gets to decide? Well, it turns out that we have a 25th Amendment. Turns out that there is a way to decide. There are extreme circumstances in which the president, let's say that Trump went completely bananas and I don't want to lose the election. I'm not going to stand for this. I'm going to blow up the world. I'm going to start World War III. I'm going to launch a nuclear attack on China. now? Well, the procedure is that the cabinet can meet, the cabinet can vote to depose, at least temporarily, the president. There are procedures in place. But Milley decided we don't need to go through any of that. The cabinet's probably not going to do it. I'll do it. So this is really the despotic impulse. This is basically Milley taking power into his own hands. And I want to leave you in this segment with this thought. Listen, if Trump is out of control, if Trump can't run the country, what do you think Milley thinks about Biden? I mean, there's a lot of people around the country who might feel a little safer if somebody other than Biden was in charge of the nuclear codes, right? Because Biden operates in this staccato, this guy is capable of doing anything. So what's to stop Milley from saying Biden can't run the country? Biden's out of control. Let me make a phone call to McConnell de Vera. McConnell, he's crazy. He's absolutely crazy. And then Milley decides, I'm the president. And no, all the nuclear orders from Biden should be ignored. It has to go through me. What I'm getting at here is we have a very dangerous man who's the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The job of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, by the way, is to coordinate the different elements of the Defense Department. That's Milley's job. By the way, the senior most official in the Defense Department is the Defense Secretary, not Milley. So here you have a guy who is truly, truly out of control. A guy who is a danger to democracy, a danger to the republic. It's not enough for him to resign. This guy should be court-martialed. This guy should be charged with treason.